God damn it, Jeff. Name one thing that you've done that says you're trying to figure out the puzzle pieces.
I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make.
Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with, now they looking nervously. And I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet next to me.
I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
Coming out with a statement. You really changed, man, all your music and arrangement. You don't know shit, shut your mouth, you can save it. I'm the same dude that got his come up from the basement. 100 songs, 100 weeks, didn't change it. Experiments, development, intelligence, and patience. I'll do it all again, cause I never feel complacent. Let's keep the good vibes, positivity's contagious. I'm never looking back, cause I made a life that's passionate. A college graduate suppressing all his talents, yeah. He found a way to go and change, become an advocate. For taking control of your life, go out and battle. And you think you have a dream, then act on it. Get after it, get out your head and fucking capture it. You got one life to master it. Don't give up on your future, we all start losers. We're all late bloomers, gotta struggle through the sewer.
What you say? Yeah, I'ma do shit my way.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding a voice and control.
And here we go.
Welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
What is going on, Hive? I hope everybody had a fantastic Monday to start their week off. Let me double check the audio. Oh, yeah, we are loud and clear. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm your host, Birdie. I go live weeknights at 7 p.m. Central. This is a contrarian thinking live stream. So we think past the headlines, we question the narrative, we question timelines, we ask what if. Not just on blind instinct, but the majority of us have developed this ability to see patterns. And when we recognize those patterns and realize that something is off in the official story, we can't just let it go. Myself especially. And I want to make something crystal clear out of the gate. Again, if you are newer to this stream, when I look at a case, especially a case like the Idaho 4, one that's dominating headlines and has a limitless amount of speculation around it, a bunch of emotional weight as well, right? It triggers people if you question it. It's a blessing and a curse. I can't help myself. I'm going to ask the uncomfortable questions. It's not to say that I'm just going to accuse random people or that I declare guilt or innocence outside of the evidence, right? But we need to deal with the narrative and how much bias that creates in our heads before we look at the evidence. We went years without documents being released. And by the time that those documents were released, how influenced were we to view that said unreleased evidence in a different light? And so I want to make that crystal clear out of the gate that tonight, it's not going to be a stream for everybody. It's going to be one of those uncomfortable streams. It doesn't mean that I'm dumb or that people in here are dumb or we don't know how to think, but it's rather challenging what people think are facts because they've been repeated to us a million times. Okay? And so that's what tonight's going to be about. If that already pisses you off, you can go ahead, you can scroll away. If you want to voice your disagreement, that's fine. We have the best mods on YouTube, being formerly known as Beck, Discord Dawn, Luna Bliss, and UFO Dog. They will give you enough leash to hang yourself. So just know if you dish it out in the chat, I'll dish it right back, or people in the chat can dish it right back. We want to have a discussion. And sometimes there has to be an intensity to finding the truth, which we are all for that. And so while you're filing in, please go ahead, hit that like button if you have not already. Or if you don't want to close this out, you can just screenshot this. And then when the live concludes, tap the QR code that will take you to all of the Hive's socials, including our Discord, my TikTok, Spotify playlist for the intro songs, as well as our Hive Mind merch store, which we do have some new merch up. And a lot of people have been checking out the new designs. We've updated them the last 3 days with some awesome new designs for the Hive Mind. So almost all of those are sourced. If people don't know this, almost all of those are sourced from the Hive art section. So it's what people put into the Discord following a live, and they're awesome. They're awesome. I wear them a lot. Most times on stream, you'll see me wearing Hive merch or a jersey if I'm not wearing the Hive merch. And so tonight, before I say what's up to everybody, let me just get into what the theme's going to be. And it comes down to a simple 2 words rather, and it's explain this. Okay, I want people to explain this. I want to talk about the dumpster cam on Linda Lane. I want to talk about how there are rumors of things happening prior to the official timeline. And if you don't want to believe that there's a separate timeline, that's okay. But it's really hard to prove the 4 a.m. timeline and say that that's legitimate when we've poked a million holes into it, right? It's almost like that timeline was so easy to poke holes in when we got the evidence released. It feels too easy after a certain extent, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and say what's up to everybody. Got Redman, Critic Rick, Lovely Me, Jeff and Kim, how are you doing? Dina, UK Claire, Germilla, Mary Lou, Teach Out, Hibiscus Girl, Reasonable Doubter, thank you for the super chat. As a reminder, any super chat over $4.99 will pop up right here. I will address them immediately or do my best to do so. Reasonable Doubter said, too many people think it's a fact simply because law enforcement and media said so, while in reality, their facts are blatant lies. And I don't disagree with that by any means at all, to put it frankly. I'm never going to outsource my thinking for how I think about a case. And if I think that something is just a flat out blatant lie, well, again, it's a blessing and a curse. I can't help myself. I feel like I have to say it. I believe that we are getting closer to the truth taking this approach. I really do. Wholeheartedly. And that's why we do this every night. We got formerly known as Beck. I already said Jeff and Kim. Disable Me. Discord Dawn. Lisa Marie says pretty much. Written Dreams. Sherry Brock. Sarah Charleston. Karen Bell. DJ Habitude. CJ Stewart. Trippy Toad. That's a dope username. I like that. UFO Dog. Gabby Girl. That's enough of that. Okay, says, what's up? Troyman. Mermaid Claire. 69. Jimmy Chipwood. KKaz Girl. Brad Harris. Jasper the Jester. Ali Gito says, roll call. Best of Me. KCG or KCG. And wait, KCJ. Jesus. And Augie in North Carolina. We love the Hive. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Boogie Bella. Drew Fisher. Is that the Drew Fisher that I potentially work with in my day job that's saying hola? Tuning in. Sweetly Psychotic. Sandy Haven. Danielle. Spotty Ash. Tony. I used one of your comments on my short today in the stream. Luna. Kelly's the man. Dina. Marsha. Genuinely Confused. Coffee Queen for the win. Christine. My Two Love Bugs 3109. Jen Stutler is tuning in from Ohio. K13. Susan. Veronica. Blah blah blue. It's a fun username as well. Formerly known as Beck says, no, not the coworkers tuning in. I went to a sales meeting not that long ago, and I had a couple people that were like, I see your TikToks pop up on my FYP. What is that? I'm just like, oh, well, I have this thing that kind of turned into more than a hobby the last few months that I do every night at 7. But we're going to start this stream like we do all the others with the Discord question of the day. This was a really interesting Discord question of the day, and it's going to stretch people's brains to think very, very hard about what it could be Brian Koberger's doing. So Baydog asks, do you think that BK was innocent but pled guilty as a chance to do research, as he is so interested in all of this and hoped that they would catch the people? So, full transparency, when the photos of Brian Koberger's papers were released, I did have a thought to myself that's like, we have to rip the cover off this entire situation just being some local cover up. And now we have to think on a scale that's way bigger. Way bigger. I'm talking a psyop. I'm talking pristinely planned. Because what are the odds that Brian Koberger has everything done to him, and not only are his papers photographed, they're released, and they're about innocent people who are overcharged that take a plea deal. And then there's also NIJ grant requests. What are the chances of that? To me, it's a long shot that is organic in any way, shape, or form. And so I have some photos of Koberger's papers. This is a slide that I used about a month ago, and I'm going to read this just to refresh people's memories. And it's written by Koberger. The screenshot was a little bit difficult to read, so I typed it out. And what it says is this: America, the nation that houses 25% of the world's inmate population, despite constituting only 5% of the world population, was designed to be the most procedurally just nation in the world. The founding fathers believed that all citizens deserved the right to a speedy trial by jury, one which was considered a basic liberty that all citizens deserved. Beyond the shocking statistics of the American prison system, there lies more evidence of procedural injustice, namely that the system has produced many false confessions. What follows is a discussion of the nature of false guilty pleas within the country, as well as an explanation on or of what might have been done to rectify the problem. See, there's writing papers for a criminology class. Okay. This is a part of your, what do they call that? Criteria to get the credits. But when you state it so crystal clearly that beyond the shocking statistics of the American prison system, there lies more evidence, and I'm going to read this part again, say it louder for the people in the back. There lies more evidence of procedural injustice, namely that the system has produced many false confessions. Yes, you want to talk about manifesting the worst luck on planet Earth? Brian Koberger writing that and putting it down on paper is either the world's best manifestation expert in creating bad luck, or something's a little bit fishy. And then you take it a step further and you start to see these type of papers that are pictured, which are NIJ merit review criteria, NIJ proposal narrative specifications. And Brian, I tried to find the photo of it myself and my mods prior to the live, but essentially Brian wrote a little blurb about how if he could get inside and talk, and when he says inside, meaning could he actually talk with people that are in prison? And I believe that the professor that graded this paper had handwritten notes that said, how are you going to get an in? How are you going to actually make that happen? And those are cliff notes that I'm summarizing without having them in front of me. But for people that don't know, the NIJ is the research arm of the Department of Justice. It's the same research arm that gave WSU funding for looking into predictive criminal behavior and lone wolf actors. It's the same research arm that gave the University of Idaho over $1 million for the SAFE Act, which is then preventing violent acts of crime from happening on campus. We look at the redactions, the national security, the slow drip of evidence. It really makes you scratch your head, in my opinion. I started to think about a way on how I could explain this in a manner that could maybe help people understand why the slow drip of evidence is necessary. And there's this woman that I follow on X. Her name's the Ma'am Attorney, like THEMAM attorney. And she goes to talk about how there's a strategy when there's a violent or just an absurd amount of disgusting evil that occurs that has to be presented to a jury. There's a strategy on how they decide to release this to the public. And she posts like 12 or 13 tweets. I'm going to read them. I couldn't fit them all on the screen, but I believe that this is important. Okay. So I'm going to read this off my phone. Okay. So she goes, lawyer here. And she's referring to the Epstein files. Let me make that crystal clear. She's referring to the Epstein files. However, when I read this, I thought, holy F, this applies to the Idaho 4 case. What the hell actually happened to these kids? Okay. So let me read this. Lawyer here. The method with which the Epstein files are being released, I would say right off the jump, let me again just say, apply this to the Idaho 4, is deliberately designed to put you in a psychological trance. This is their strategy, and here's how I know this. In trial practice, when there are exhibits involving violence, children or young adults, extreme harm, We do not want to simply dump information into the room. We go back and forth extensively about how and when something is shown. The judge actually guides this process. The experts then contextualize it. It is a container equipped to hold this content. The court understands that when the brain is flooded with horror, your system gets hijacked by the primal brain. You go into hypervigilance, rage, obsession, and collapse. This trial strategy is built on the premise of if you can bypass the cognitive brain and activate the primitive survival brain, the oldest part of the brain, you can control the outcomes without ever persuading on facts or law. So this strategy is actually not allowed at trial. So you can't just go into a courtroom as an attorney and say all of these horrendous things, because anybody on a jury will react with a very primitive sense, and they're not cognitively or critically thinking about the evidence that's being presented. They just go into a fight or flight mode. So you may have assumed that these releases of information are sloppy. They are not. This is a known and practiced strategy. The most ruthless corporate defense lawyers fight cases this exact way. Disorganized document drops, endless data with no roadmap, both high volume but also evasive. It's at the same time too much information also omits the most crucial information. And this strategy always has two predictable outcomes. One, you're going to become consumed. You deep dive, you push to get more information. It takes over your life. Your focus narrows until there's nothing else. They keep you locked in an endless energy loop in their sick mind games, and you actually become one of their victims. Or two, you disengage completely. You decide it's too much, too confusing, too overwhelming, and you walk away. It implodes from your exhaustion. Either way, they win. A nervous system can only hold horror if it is sequenced, paced, and contextualized. If it's not, it will oscillate, fixate, or shut down. What you are being fed is exposure to terror without containment. Make no mistake about it, this is a psychological guerrilla warfare tactic. When the nervous system is overwhelmed, it seeks relief. This looks like outrage, doom scrolling, obsessing, or wanting to throw your phone against the wall or into the ocean. You think, I just need to understand this one piece of evidence, this one final piece. But there's no final piece. There's always another fragment, another horror dangling just out of frame, and you lose your ability to critically think. When the trauma cannot be held by the people who used it and cannot be processed by systems designed to contain it, it looks for somewhere else to go. So your body begins to alchemize with what the victims went through. You feel it. You feel it all. You feel it in your jaw, your gut, your chest. You're wary around your kids, your partner. You can't talk about this to your relatives or your friends. You feel crazy. This is where they want you. Please know this. This is super important. You're not crazy. You are having a normal biological response to abnormal psychological warfare. And I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit because it's really long. But this is not what you want a juror's headspace to be in when they hear this evidence. You want to demand accountability without sacrificing your own ability to critically think. Justice does not require self-destruction. You are allowed to survive this intact. In fact, by being able to do just that, you are a part of the rebellion. And I just think that is so wonderfully written. And I have goosebumps reading that. And so the ma'am attorney on X is who posted that. And I certainly have felt that way. She absolutely, like Delilah Jane just said, summed up the entirety of the Idaho 4 case. And when you break that down, it makes a ton of sense why that's not allowed as a strategy in court. Because if you were to use the Epstein files and you hear about all of these crazy emails, and I'm sure the evidence that's going to come out in court, if it ever gets to court, would 100x the severity of what really happened with photos or videos, voice messages. How does a normal person just go about their day and continue to listen in when you hear about people being bound and gagged, when you hear about people having experimental wounds, when you hear about maybe they suffered for an extended period of time before the police were called? And I agree, as it should, Gurmilla. And I believe that's how the ma'am attorney summed it up at the end, by being able to recognize that. It's exactly what they don't want. They don't want people to recognize that. So let's do that to start this stream. Let's address it. And let's realize that just by knowing this is a strategy and the slow drip of information out is designed to overwhelm you, always looking for the next fragment of evidence, the missing piece. So that's how I wanted to start this stream, by explain this. Okay. And again, just beautifully written by the ma'am attorney. It's a lot longer than what I just read, but you guys get the point. So now when we go back to just the Idaho 4, I showed this yesterday. Some people agreed with it. Some people disagreed with it. It was a comment that was very long, talking about how many people on the Linda Lane side of 1122 felt as if they heard things happening that were rather obvious the police should be called, whether it was maybe domestic violence taking place, whether or not a phone call went through to 911. We've talked about a stingray, or the networks being down. The University of Idaho's network was down. I would consider that a pattern. Okay. I would absolutely consider that a pattern. And when I was reading some of the comments and getting some feedback, I felt like it was worth addressing again. I'm not going to read this all again. You can watch yesterday's stream, but essentially it's just saying that a lot of this started to happen before 3:30 a.m. Okay. And this is from somebody that actually went there and talked to people on the ground, allegedly. I don't know this person. Yes, it is just a YouTube comment. But again, with a pattern of what we hear, we do hear loud stuff before 3 a.m., before the 4 a.m. timeline, right? I think that it is somewhat worth noting that, you know, there is a difference between the official timeline of 4 a.m. And actually, I'll sum it up by saying this. I'm going to actually back up, because this is probably the most important part of the stream to set up the rest of what I talk about. We believe 4 a.m. because what was shoved into our head countless times, and I'll lean on the chat for this. What solidified the 4 a.m. push along with don't victim blame or shame? Pretty much at 4 a.m. Would everybody agree with that? Can anybody else tell me, if you didn't have Dylan's statement of pretty much at 4 a.m., would anybody be able to guess, if you listen to the audio, Linda Lane, the dumpster, the car park, or 1112? Would anybody be able to guess when the crime occurred based on screams, noises? Would you be able to dial it in to 4 a.m. to 4:20? So you have pretty much at 4 a.m., there was a man in the house, which would have been Brian Koberger alone, with one weapon, conducting a cleanup, and in and out between 7 and 8 minutes total. We also have somebody else in the Idaho 4 narrative that states a very specific hour being a dark hour. And instinctually, my gut tells me that if a victim has both of their parents multiple times say that a certain hour is a dark hour, being 2 a.m. is a dark hour, I would guess that without the 4 a.m. and pretty much 4 a.m., and don't victim blame, don't question Dylan or Bethany, I would guess that most people, if they didn't have that bias in their head, would take to the fact that, oh my God, Ethan's parents said 2 a.m. is a dark hour. 2 a.m. is a dark hour. It's 4 minutes after the girls get home. How easy is it to poke holes in not only Dylan's statement of not hearing anything, waiting 8 hours, but audio, video? Yes, I'm aware. Audio and video lines up to an extent of the 4 a.m. timeline. It doesn't really seem as loud or chaotic as you would think for 4 people being killed. You would guess that if this was going down, you would see a lot of people outside walking around, curious to see what's going on. I don't know. I mean, we have a thud. We have a thud. What about the blood-curdling screams? And if there are party noises, well, then we have to go back and retrace our steps and think to ourselves, what did another victim's parent say that their niece called them and told them? My niece called me and told me somebody came and shot a party up. So either way, here's my point. Pretty much at 4 a.m. or blood-curdling screams, 2 sets of parents talking about 2 a.m. and a party, where the blood-curdling screams is just a party noise, maybe. There's only 2 logical options when we get to this point. And this is after 3 years. Okay? We have 2 a.m. as a dark hour timeline, which I believe that those noises line up more with multiple assailants, multiple weapons, and give time for an extensive cleanup. Or we have pretty much at 4 a.m., there's a man in the house with just Brian Koberger in 7 to 8 minutes. In general, I don't know what is true because I'm not just looking for a whodunit. I'm looking for what happened. When did it happen? And I know that this video, this stream is going to get some flack. That's okay. But I also believe that Brian Koberger and Ann Taylor were not just in the Franks hearing trying to say that their theory would have had an alternate perp. I believe that that theory would have had an alternate timeline altogether. I really believe that. I believe that an alternate timeline would have been a piece of that and of Brian's defense. I don't know how you would be able to argue somebody else and have the same timeline given what the state has shown to an extent, right? There's no fog lamps. He was out at the park stargazing. But doesn't that also, if they died and Brian wasn't there, doesn't that open the door to a different timeline potentially? I think that it's worth discussing because you have 2 a.m. as a dark hour timeline, or you have pretty much 4 a.m. timeline. Now, I go into a handful of things. One of the most telling things is that even on the Linda Lane archive, what time is really missing? And if you take Greg Willett saying that there were emergency vehicles parked at 1122 by 3:30 a.m. Okay, this is what I'm talking about with pattern recognition. One resident said she heard clear harassment and violence taking place well before that. I'm addressing, this is a YouTube comment. This could be nothing, but when you add in other things, Mrs. Chapin saying 2 a.m., multiple assailants, multiple weapons. Nobody apparently called after the 4 a.m. timeline. There's a blood-curdling scream earlier. You hear a lot of noise going on. And then you go and you look at, on YouTube, the Linda Lane archives, what times are missing the most? From 3 to 4 a.m. You have 3 a.m., 3:01, 3:09, 3:30, 3:02, 3:04, 3:21 to 3:30, and then nothing until 4:06. One's in the chat if you're picking up what I'm putting down from a pattern recognition standpoint. And this is not just to cause a bunch of BS. Okay, I understand. The documents and the reports, they could point to this happened at that time. I think that we've all done a really good job showing Brian Koberger didn't do it according to the reports. So if Brian didn't do it according to the reports, if we take out a single perp, why would we not take out the time? I don't think that that's hard to at least think through for an hour and a half every now and again. So these are screen grabs. This is at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll show the video here in a second. But this happens right away. The footage is clearly doctored. You see an additional light on top of this car driving by. Okay, you don't see this on any other cars. I took as many screen grabs as I could. I'll play the video and I'll show you it on Linda Lane Archive. Give me a second here. Geez, these bubblers, whenever I drink them, no matter what, they give me like this feeling in my throat. So I apologize if I just went silent for a second. It's the carbonation. All right. So let's go to, let me just show you this real quick. Most people have probably seen this. Let me just make sure this is the right one. Okay. So we're going to watch this in real time. This is 3 a.m. And I want everybody to watch right here. Okay. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to show you. I have it at the highest quality. This is in 4K. The playback speed is normal. Oops. The playback speed and quality is down here. This is normal. So I'm going to show you what happens here. I want you guys to watch this car and tell me if this is a little strange. Does that look like flashing lights on top of the car leaving? Oh, taxis have flashing lights on their roof over here, other than police cars. Can respectfully, you know what? I don't have time for that. I've never seen a taxi with a flashing light in my life. No. And the pizza delivery wouldn't flash. And either way, they stop it. It's glitching. To me, that's a red. It just seems like a red flag. Okay, that's really what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to think through things. And then in addition to that, I just want to say that K Books on TikTok left a comment, and I have been searching for this video for so long. I sent this to my mod Luna Bliss, and she goes, "Of course, the video is unavailable." And when I clicked on the link, it worked. Okay, it worked. And it's a 20-second clip from PBS. I've only been able to ever read the transcript of this. I finally got the video.
Across the country at the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, another shelter-in-place order Sunday after 4 students were found shot to death in a home near campus. Officials are releasing little information in that case, but both events are a grim reminder of the nation's epidemic of gun violence. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm John Yang.
Okay, so let me play that again. I'll turn it up.
Across the country at the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, another shelter-in-place order Sunday after 4 students were found shot to death and 4 students were found shot to death in a home near campus. Officials are releasing little information in that.
Also, I just feel like these coroner jackets, everything just looks different and off. But
across the country at the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, another shelter-in-place order Sunday after 4 students were found shot to death in a home near campus. Officials are releasing little information in that case, but both events are a grim reminder of the nation's epidemic of gun violence. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm John Yang.
So to provide some context, at the University of Virginia, there was another shooting that involved 3 members of the football team. they combined these stories, and they talked about how at Virginia they had a shelter in place. People were sleeping in the library. I have the transcript actually here from that video that I just showed. So across the country at the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, another shelter in place order Sunday after 4 students were found shot to death in a home near campus. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Where now, if you look at what WSU, which is the other screenshot here on the right, is saying, multiple allegations were embedded in most of the paragraphs in the plaintiff's complaint. So this is the families trying to sue WSU, okay? In the plaintiff's complaint for damages, and indeed many of the individual sentences in the paragraphs. While WSU made every effort to address each allegation, WSU is aware that it may be possible to interpret that a particular allegation was neither admitted nor denied in this answer. Accordingly, in addition to the admissions and denials stated herein, WSU denies any allegations in plaintiff's complaint for damages that has not been expressly admitted to denied. That's interesting. By way of further answer and first affirmative defense, the defendant, being WSU, alleges that the plaintiff's damages and or injuries, if any, were caused by the fault of a non-party for purposes of RCW 4.22.070, including but not limited to Brian Koberger and or other individuals or entities that may become apparent through ongoing investigation and discovery. The defendant reserves the right to identify the additional individuals or entities in this matter. By way of further answer and second affirmative defense, the defendant alleges that the plaintiff's injuries and damages, if any, were caused by intentional conduct of Brian Koberger and any other individuals plaintiffs harmed them. Defendant reserves the right to identify additional individuals or entities in this matter. The damages caused by the intentional conduct must be segregated from injuries or damages allegedly caused by fault, consistent with Tegman or Tegman versus accident and medical investigation. It states the case name. The defendant alleges that all actions of the defendant, WSU, herein alleged as negligence manifest a reasonable exercise of judgment and discretion by authorized public officials made in the exercise of governmental authority entrusted to them by law and are neither Oops, there we go. Ann Taylor was denied for the Franks motion, saying there could have been alt perps, there could have been other things going on. Would that include a different timeline, a different means of death? We have people that are seen on body cam talking about the rumor that they heard was either cocaine, and that's not even the Goncalves family is saying that their niece called them and said that somebody came and shot the party up. There's multiple news articles that have scrubbed any mention of a shooting. We know that there's a second weapon involved. We know that there's high velocity impact blood spatter. Okay. If Brian Koberger didn't do it by himself, then when did multiple people go in and do it with different weapons? I don't think that that's even a stretch. And I could be way off. But if everybody's going to say Brian didn't do it and there was multiple people, it certainly doesn't sound or feel like at the time that this was done that could have been the case. So if a gun was used and if the victims were posed, maybe adding 2, 3, 4 people, could you get it done in 8 minutes? Yeah, I guess you could. Are we thinking that random gang members could do that? Because still in my head, when I think of that timeline of 4 people getting this done in 7 to 8 minutes, I think of a team of Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Special Forces, 8 minutes in and out. I don't think of people that have been in prison and I don't see that happening. I still think that given how weird the audio sounds like it's underwater, seeing how much the video glitches, the slow drip of information and how that could be a strategy, I don't think that this is even a conspiracy. I think that in a cover-up, you cover up the real shit that happened. And so I want to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, pretty much 4 a.m., beat into your head. And I'm not trying to take away from any other work. If anything, I'm a believer that questioning anything outside of it, and my screen is shared the whole time. I'm doing my best to show things that make you think. I think that just talking about it is making a huge difference still. So one's in the chat if you agree. And then also let me know your guys' thoughts on the gun, on the timeline. Potentially, if they were to argue Brian Koberger couldn't have done this alone and that if he's not involved, I mean, Brian Koberger's blood's not there. It's just trace DNA. And they're not testing certain male DNA. The timeline and the delay makes no sense. I don't know. Over 150 stab wounds. It's like if everything else is wrong, why are we thinking that I just go back to national security being involved? And it's like, fine, you guys were right. Brian didn't do it. He had somebody else. Is that a win if it's still covering up what really happened? Is that a win to an extent? Brian, you're right, you guys. He couldn't have done this. The expert said he posed the bodies. And you bring up such a great point. Where did that comment go? Brian Koberger wasn't even a suspect until the FBI injected his name. And I have a video that goes along with this. The timing is great, Dungeon Master. Brian's DNA snip. I don't know why it always pops up so quiet. Sorry, guys. Brian's DNA snip doubled in size. This happened after it left the lab and before it got to the FBI. And the New York Times wrote an entire article. Israeli scientists were able to completely fabricate one's DNA without even having a sample tissue.
I'm talking about the next set of moves that are super secret that happen when there's a portion of the DNA taken and it's searched by Othram to create a SNP. That's what I'm talking about. So we hear Ann Taylor talking about in general just how they got his DNA. Brian Koberger's name is not in this at all until the FBI tells them to treat this like a tip. Tony Stevenson left a good comment underneath this short that I had posted, which says, Yvonne Missy Woods, Colorado, 107 counts of DNA manipulation. It happens. This is Yvonne, and former Colorado DNA analyst accused of manipulating data, pleads not guilty, trial date set.
Yvonne Missy Woods, a former DNA analyst with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, pleaded not guilty on Wednesday to the 102 charges she's facing related to allegedly mishandling or manipulating data in dozens of criminal investigations. Woods, 65, was charged in Jefferson County Court in January of 2025, posted a $50K cash or surety bond the day after her first appearance. She was charged with 52 counts of forgery of a government-issued document, 48 counts of attempting to influence a public servant, 1 count of first-degree perjury, and 1 count of cybercrime. So, yes, it does happen. It does happen. So I just, that's a lot of info there. This stream is meant to do exactly what we're doing tonight. People can hate it or love it. I know that this chat and this channel and this stream has led to people thinking outside the box. We have to start to think, what would have came out of if Hitler would have let the Franks motion through? Would a different timeline have come out of that? Why is it that from 3:30 to 4, all of this video is missing? Why is it that video glitches? Why is it there's such a push to have it be Brian Koberger? And then it's like, it was Brian Koberger and somebody else. Well, is that the win that they're going to give people to get us to shut up from finding out the rest of it? So, tonight is going to be a shorter stream, okay? Not for any other reason other than just that's a lot of info. I want people to digest it. Go back, look at 3 a.m. Discord Dawn had sent me a video. I don't think that I had the time to get it onto the stream. Oh, I did actually. Don't go anywhere. Discord Dawn sent me another video that shows what certainly looks to be an emergency vehicle at 6:48 in the morning heading towards King Road. Oops, let me zoom in. I mean, that looks like a cop car to me. And I think it's worth questioning. So with that, Hive, please, again, go check out HiveMindStore.com. Hit like, hit subscribe. I will be back on tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central. Cheers, everybody.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.